Hello everyone. Today our history project is going to be to teach American history prior to and during World War II using the hit game Hearts of Iron 4.
But before we start, here are some basics to the game. Players control nations. I am controlling Japan, USA is controlled by Jaden, and there is a third player controlling Germany. The rest of the nations are controlled by the AI, which will act in a historical manner. Land battles happen when one country attacks a tile which has an enemy unit on it. Everything on this video is filmed from the US perspective. A green bubble in a battle means the USA is winning, and a red bubble means they are losing. Naval battles are displayed through a balance of power, which moves and that shows who is winning. Events pop up while they occur in the game, and US politics are represented with national focus trees as well as decisions found with every nation. So with that in mind, let's get right into it.
The game starts in 1936, as the United States is still in the Great Depression. This is shown by the national spirit, significantly weakening the US economy and game. Compared to other Western powers, the United States Army was not very large, as shown in the game. However, its navy was rapidly expanding, and dockyards were built on both sides of the nation. New Deal programs like the PWA and WPA built infrastructure, airports, and other projects to help bring the economy back on its feet, also represented by the focuses in game.
In 1936, the United States had an isolationist policy and low support for any wars, therefore reducing the chances of any intervention.
Japan would abandon the London naval treaties, a symbol of peace and cooperation around the world, which limited the size of ships and navies. In response, Roosevelt passed the Neutrality Act of 1936, further restricting potential U.S. involvement. As 1936 was an election year, this proved to be important as the American people opposed intervention.
After Roosevelt was re-elected, he continued his New Deal programs with the Agricultural Adjustment Act, improving industry in states like California, and the Fair Labor Standards Act, in an attempt to restore the U.S. economy and get it fully out of the Depression.
On the global scale, aggression of Japan and Germany continued, as Japan took part in the Panay Incident, and Germany annexed Austria and Czechoslovakia. These events prompted Roosevelt to attempt slow militarization, ultimately leading to the U.S. becoming an arsenal of democracy.
Eventually, tensions came to boil in Europe, and World War II started when, on September 1st, 1939, with the invasion of Poland. Germany stunned the world by its blitzkrieg through Poland, France, the Low Countries, and Nordic nations. The U.S., with their timbers shivered, began to help Britain with the Lend-Lease Act and by building Liberty ships, also known as convoys.
At the home front, the New Deal continued with the Federal Housing Act. Keynesian economics finally started with the Selective Trading Act of 1940, and Roosevelt won yet another election in 1940, continuing the Democratic dominance.
Across the Pacific, Japan had been controlling Manchuria and Korea for many years, but now wanted the rest of China. By staging the Marco Polo Bridge incident, Japan had justified an invasion of Beijing and escalated the war to conquer China in 1937. While historically, Japan was never able to conquer China due to overextension, and while this did happen to an extent in our game...
Bro, they're actually encircling my entire pin. Japanese. Wait, they're actually gonna get it. Where are the divisions? There's no divisions. Okay, I think I've secured it. No, wait, it's so open. They're actually gonna get it. They're gonna get the other one.
In order to have a balanced game, it was necessary for Japan to take China. Seeing France weakened after the German invasion, Japan demanded areas of French Indochina and proceeded to seize it.
In response, the U.S. ended its appeasement of Japan and embargoed it, suspending valuable oil trade and other resources that Japan needed for its war machine, who was in real life still fighting China.
Determined to seize its own resources, Japan looked south to the Philippines and East Indies, owned by the United States and the Allies. However, it needed to remove the U.S. naval presence in the Pacific before it could operate there. This prompted the attack on Pearl Harbor, a strategic strike by the Japanese Air Force that aimed to cripple the U.S. Pacific Fleet on December 7, 1941.
FDR declared in his speech a day of infamy and ordered a mobilization of the United States resources, ending the Depression, known as the giant wakes in the game. The USA officially joined the Allies, as the Eastern Front continued to wage with Germany's Operation Barbarossa. As the USA entered total mobilization, Rosie the Riveter was used as a symbol for women to replace men going to the front, who created new weapons like the B-24 and the M4 Sherman.
Against Japan, the US fought an inconclusive naval skirmish at Coral Reef, but turned its attention to Europe after agreeing to a Germany first policy. Seeing opportunity, Japan was able to seize the Philippines and various Asian holdings, and threatening India, Australia, and New Zealand.
On the Western Front, Britain had already attempted multiple naval invasions, seizing North Africa by 1942 and landing in Italy by 1943. After a failed invasion of France, however, known as the Raid of Dieppe, the United States successfully launched the largest naval invasion in history on Normandy on June 6, 1944. In real life, German resistance was fierce, but inside the game, I proceeded to destroy the Germany player so bad, he gave up in less than a year after my D-Day, capitulating a year earlier than the historical date. However, following the Yalta Conference and peace talks in Europe, Germany was divided into East and West Germany, with Allied occupation zones all throughout Europe.
Turning our attention back to the Pacific theater, historically, Japan would reach its peak holdings in 1942 and early 43. But in our game, not historically, I would conquer most of the Pacific, including Hawaii, Australia, and India. However, as the entirety of Allied forces redirected to Asia, Japan faced impossible odds, which were exacerbated by a Soviet invasion of Manchuria in 1945.
The US had gained dominance of the seas in 1942, after the Battle of Midway, which ended in a total US victory. With this, the US began to slowly reconquer the Pacific through bloody naval invasion, which proved to be an unsustainable policy. In order to shorten the war, the US unleashed a weapon it had been developing for years, the atomic bomb. After bombing Hiroshima and then Nagasaki, and not two random Chinese cities and Taiwan, Japan finally surrendered on September 2, 1945, ending the bloody Battle of the Pacific and also World War II.